What's up, crypto? There is something happening right now which I haven't seen before. This is interesting. This is really interesting. And the main topic of this video is this time different? Because if it is different, then we can see a huge breakout or a huge crash. If it's not different, let's take a look at that. But this should be very interesting. So already like the video. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. There's a Patreon link down below. I'm not even going to show what's in it. Go check it out and suit for yourself if it is something that may interest you. So what's so interesting about Bitcoin is that we had a pretty decent pullback this week. We went from the high this week of 43,800 all the way back to 40,000, give or take. We had a huge correction, huge 1.5 huge correction. What's so interesting is that Bitcoin feels like, yeah, fuck that. We basically, it depends on how accurate I draw this line, right? And I think that it doesn't matter. But we kind of perfectly bounced on this upwards trend that we are in since last year, December. We started back then. We came down to it in February. March, excuse me. We came down to it in June again, and we broke below it for a while, but then Bitcoin felt like, okay, let's go right there, have some big resistance right there, and then break out. And now we are bouncing there again. Now, every time we bounced there, it was a great buying opportunity, even if it happened over here, because yeah, we broke down short term, but it wasn't for much longer, and we were already making newer highs. Bitcoin is just showing incredible strength right now. It is really looking very, very, very good. And the people that follow this channel know that I've been calling for a correction like for a very long time, right? Because that's what Bitcoin usually does every cycle, so far at least. And hey, this time might be different. I'm fully convinced when the halving is done, because usually we have these corrections before the halving. And now, as soon as the halving has been done, which is somewhere March, April, I feel like, okay, then the chance that it still happens is like very low. And after the halving is usually when we, start off really a big bull market. You can, of course, say like, yeah, well, here from the lows from 3K all the way to 14K, was already the bull market, right? And we had a big crash in between and then just continued. That kind of depends on how you define a bull market, right? But this is at least not a bear market. We can at least say that, right? So Bitcoin, again, it's showing incredible strength, and every time it gets down, it gets bought up. It shows that the bulls are in complete control in this area, and I would be very interested to see that Bitcoin now holds this for maybe the rest of the month and then breaks above this resistance area of 43, 44, give or take. And I think then 48.52 is still a good possibility. And then I'm definitely gonna take some profits off of the table from Bitcoin and mainly from altcoins. Hey, could it run any further? Yeah, it could definitely. Hey, but that's usually the kind of gain that Bitcoin makes in the pre-halving year before there's a small correction, or small, before it has a correction, and then really goes parabolic during the bull market. But yeah, now this video, we're gonna discuss, like, is this time different? There are people from both sides calling that this is different. We have the bears and we have the bulls. And the people that say like, no, we're now just going up straight and we're gonna make new all-time highs before the halving, that would be different. Bitcoin has never done that. Right? But there are also people still, well, at least one, that says, Bitcoin is going to 12K, it's going to make a new low. Well, that's going to be completely different as well. That's usually not what Bitcoin does this late in the cycle. So let's take a look at that. And also, let's take a look at something that did not happen in the last 23 years. And that could actually determine whether Bitcoin is going to fucking moon or not. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about the S&P. The S&P just made new highs since 23 years. And there are maybe some people that say like, no, that's not the case. But in a certain way, it is actually the case. And we're also going to take a look at how closely Bitcoin is following the S&P actually. So if you just take a look at what the S&P is worth against the dollar, you could see like, hey, it's at 4,700. It is incredibly strong. It's incredibly strong. But these are no all-time highs yet, right? The all-time high was sitting at 4,800, which is not far from here, but it's not a new all-time high. I think this is really interesting. This is the S&P. So the S&P did not make new highs, but this right here is the S&P divided by the M2. What is the M2? That's the current money supply. US M2 stock money refers to the measure of money supply that includes financial assets held mainly by households, such as saving deposits, time deposits, and balances in retail money market mutual funds, in addition to more readily available liquid financial assets as defined by the M1 measure of money. Blah, 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 blah. So what it basically means is we can take a look at this, and it's now $4,700. But back here, $4,700 was worth more than $4,700 is right now. The M2 takes that into account, and to put it like that. And if we take a look at this, so what the S&P is now actually worth against the money that there is, and what your money is worth right now, we can see this. I have to put it on the monthly even. It made a new high for the first time since July 2001. So I said 23, it's 22. So for the first time in 22 years, the S&P has made a new high. Now, I made a wrong call, really, I'm not gonna lie, because the S&P was sitting here, and I said like, hey guys, it's very likely that it's going to get rejected, right? Because this has been a major resistance point for the last 2 decades. So come on, that's a lot of information to go off. And well, technically we did, right? We went here and we went down quite a lot. But what I also said was, hey, every time we get here, we get a major correction. All right, here as well. We got here, we got a major correction. This was 2008. You all know what happened in 2008, right? Here we got a major correction in 2020, and here in 2021, when the crypto bull run ended as well, cycles, we got a major correction as well. But now we broke out. Like, this time is different when it comes to the S&P. Now, the interesting thing is this could line up with Bitcoin, and why Bitcoin is doing what Bitcoin is doing so different right now. Because what Bitcoin is doing, and what I am basing my theory on, like I said, right? Like, hey, I expect a good correction, and I said that based on the cycle, right? That's basically the only thing to go off. Every time the white lines are the halving, and every time what we have seen so far, right? But this is not a lot of information. This is 13 years, right? So it's not like a massive amount of information. But we have our bottom. We go up very hard. And we have a second pretty good correction before we really take off. Here as well, we have our bottom. We go up. And we have a second pretty big correction. Here as well, we have our bottom. We go up very hard. We have our second big correction. And we take off. Now we have our bottom. We go up. But, I don't see the correction, right? Now I'm going to sit in the middle, because I have been very vocal about, hey guys, it's very likely that we go down. And I am in the camp that could still happen. But I'm also more in the camp right now that this time could actually be different, because the S&P has already shown that this time is different, because that made a new high for the first time in 2 decades right now. Just this, week. This week. So that can change something for me. Now, of course, the S&P and Bitcoin are not always correlated. That's definitely true. So let's take a look at the S&P and let's overlay Bitcoin to see if it actually moves with each other. So if we overlay Bitcoin, the orange line is Bitcoin and the rest, this is the S&P. And what we have seen, for example, in this bear market right here, right? So this was Bitcoin's bear market. We went from $800 to like $200. That's because the S&P topped out and it went down. Now, in this bear market here for Bitcoin, it's because the S&P went down, right? Here in this bear market, why do you think that happened? Because the S&P went down, right? But now, at least on the, again, money supply, the S&P is making new highs. So that could suggest that maybe the S&P is likely to make new highs as well, and that the bear market, like including the last leg of it at least for the S&P, is over, and that it might mean that it's also over for Bitcoin. I'm not saying it is, but I try to stay unbiased because I honestly don't know at this point. All I can do is just give my analysis, right? And you should not trade off what I say anyway, but it's super hard to predict what's going to happen. A cycle is cyclical. A cycle for the S&P and for Bitcoin, trading off of that until the day of, like, well, basically last week for the last 13 years has played out perfectly. If you trade it like that, it would be very hard to do something wrong. But now I feel like, okay, I'm staying in the middle right now, at least. I'm not saying this will happen. I'm not saying that will happen, but I'm staying in the middle right here. It's interesting, at least, that the S&P is doing that. Now, what's also interesting then when we talk about altcoins is this. That's what if we do take a look at altcoins, right? And this is not a massive amount of history, really. But if we do take a look at altcoins, the first cycle, right? Altcoins went down. When they had their bottom, we had one leg up. It went down again. We had another leg up, went down, and then started to break out. So we had two basically fake legs up, right? Okay, cool, whatever. Cycle after that, we had a bottom. We had one leg up, down, second leg up, down, moon. Now, if I now look at altcoins, we had our bottom, we had our first leg up, down, we have our second leg up, cyclical wise, you should say, okay, down again, right? But hey, I mean, that's based off 2 previous cycles. 3 makes trend, 2 is just like coincidence, right? So, but these are the things that I'm looking at when I'm looking at crypto. But I'm open to the idea that this time is different. Now, there are, like, I must say that for the last 13 years, it's all the same, right? For the last 13 years, it is all the same. We still have 4 months until the halving, right? So if we do not get that usual push down, then it's different. However, we still have 4 months. Over the last 13 years, it did, right? How many 4 months are that? 13 years times 4 is 13, 26, 54, I think. My brains are not working. I think 54. The chance that we don't go down is 1 against 54 in that case. So if you do feel like, hey, this time is different and it's up only, you're betting against massive odds, right? That's a fact. But then again, yeah, like I showed you right here, hey, the S&P did it now. So that's at least some point of confirmation. But there are also people that say like, hey, this time is different. But it's way different and in another way. And then you come across these kind of guys, right? This is Capo, and nothing against him necessarily. A lot of people are bashing him for being wrong, and I think that's stupid. Like, you can't be in crypto for a week and not make a wrong call. So that he is wrong about something, fine. He's a little stubborn about it. I think no matter how high the market goes, he will always say that we hit 12K. But somebody recently asked him, like, hey, is 12K still the target? Yes. But we need to see bearish confirmations first. Yeah, otherwise you can't go down if it's not starting to turn bearish. But that's his thesis, that we should first go to 30K, break that, because there's some support right there, of course, and then we go to 12K, like there's no support sitting between 30 and 12K, like 25K or 18K or 15 or whatever. apart from the fact that it's not that weird to say like, hey, Bitcoin will go down very hard. Like, I mean, if we go to 12K, it's a downwards move of 70%, 71%, right? It's not that we haven't seen it before. In the last cycle we did exactly that, by the way, but that was including a black swan. You cannot trade black swans, of course. Black swans are things that you don't know are going to happen. So if you don't know it's going to happen, you can trade it as well, right? There can be a lot of bad stuff in the crypto world or in the financial world, or the wars that we have going on right now. They can explode, or a recession that might be coming could be way heavier than people think, or I don't know, you name something, right? It could all happen. But are you going to bet your money on it? That's something different, in my opinion. But also, 12K would mean a new low. Okay, now, if we again do look at previous cycles, the green line is where we are right now, and this is time-wise how far it goes. So the orange line, for example, was the bear market in 2018. There we bottomed after 364 days from the top. The red line was the bear market in 2015. There we bottomed after 406 days after the top, right? But what Capo and maybe some other people are actually saying right now is, hey, 12K, that's a new low. But how many days are we already from the top right now? 766, right? The average is around a year. We're now already at 2 years, right? So if we do see a new low, it means that for some reason this bear market is twice as long, not a little bit longer, right? Not like that we can maybe say like, oh, this time it's 540 days or something, right? Or whatever. No, like 800 days. Like, but what, okay, but why? Like, that I don't believe. The low, I can pretty much say like, okay, everything is possible in crypto, but apart from that, I can pretty much confidently say like the low is in. Also, if you just use your common sense, we had a possible recession coming up, which is always kind of priced in. We have wars going on. We came out of COVID. We had like Celsius, 3AC, Luna, Voyager, FTX. We had so much bad shit, macro-wise and crypto-wise. And still, if you look, price-wise, this is Bitcoin's best bear market by quite far. By quite far. Right? In that case, I feel like, then what the hell needs to happen to make a new low, right? That seems so unlikely, and it goes against everything right here. So anybody that's calling for a new low, I think it's maybe not so smart to listen to these people. Like, yeah, if you want to trade the possible news that's coming out, like said, a recession or this or that, like you can do that, but then you can also trade the news of an ETF, right? Or the halving, which is also coming, and that's kind of bullish again. So I don't see that happen. So conclusion, is this time different? At least not in the case that Bitcoin will go find a new lows like 2 years after the top. Like, that actually never happened, but also it never came even close to that. If it was now maybe half a year ago or something, I would say like, well, very maybe. But now the closer we get to the halving, the more I feel like, yeah, no, the low is in. Come on, and you are going to miss out there, sir. So I don't expect that. Is this time different in the fact that we do not see a big pullback? What I believe is that we at least don't see a 70% pullback if we don't get a black swan, right? That's not going to happen. Even right here, we had a pullback from $316 down to $198. So this was a pullback of, this was just 37%, right? Okay, so what I do feel like is that could happen. And why do I say that could happen? Well, if you look at bull markets, right, big pullbacks always happen. Here in this bull market, right, here we had a pullback of 14%. Okay, not bad. But here we had a pullback, middle of the bull market, of 20%. Here we had a pullback of, yeah, and how should I measure this? Well, like this, I guess, 12%. Here we had a pullback of 31%. And here we had a pullback of 26%. I don't know if you can call this a pullback, but this was like, well, big pullback. But even here, in the middle of the run-up, again, we had a pullback of 25%, right? So anywhere between 15 and 30% pullbacks in a bull market are very normal. Now, it sounds very scary, because if we do get a pullback from this point of, let's say, 30%, it will take us down to, well, around 30K. Hey, but that wouldn't be that crazy. That's just like retesting these previous resistance points, right? I mean, we broke out right here as well. And the top, hey, we retested that, right? Previous resistance is future support and the other way around. And doing a retest on these points, that's nothing too crazy. Plus, that would still be a higher low for Bitcoin. So I'm definitely in the camp like, hey, could we see like 30, 32K again? It's like, I don't want to say probably, but it, of course, wouldn't be weird if we see that, right? But that would still be bullish. Plus, it would be maybe good for the capos out there to maybe get in at not too way expensive prices. So that's kind of what I am looking at right now. We could definitely see pullbacks in the market. But all in all, I do think that we are now going up, and that the pullback that I have been talking about, like these kind of pullbacks, that could be the pullback that takes us to 30K, that the usual bull market kind of pullbacks. And that's just a good entry level, to be honest. Also, if we take a look at the DXY, the dollar currency index, for the people that don't know, you basically you want to see this go down in order for Bitcoin and that kind of assets to see it go up. Well, we have been rejected from this level that we have talked about earlier. This was a pretty big resistance level, and we are now coming close to this support, and this is support that goes way back. We have a lot of support and previous resistance sitting here. That's not that far from now, right? You can measure it here, 101. You can say like, okay, it's here or here, but somewhere in around like this area, in my opinion. So that could be, you know, shorter term bullish for Bitcoin. Also, what's interesting still, the USDT dominance, this is also saying like, hey, bullish, but, right? Because the USDT dominance is showing us how much money is sitting in USDT, and that has been going down. So clearly people have been putting their money from USDT into the crypto market. What we have seen is that we were sitting at major support right here. We broke it, and now we came down to this point where we are bouncing right now. If we do break that, then we could see another move down for the USDT dominance of around 14%, give or take. If we take a look at this chart over the month, what we see is that this month we went down 10%. We went down 14% in October, okay? So we could see a similar move if we do break this. Now, what did Bitcoin do in October? If we take a look at October, Bitcoin went up 30%. Right? So if we do see another move down from 40% and Bitcoin goes up, 30% it was, then it could take Bitcoin all the way to $55,000, right? Maybe a little less, as you know, it's harder to pump Bitcoin when the prices are higher, of course. But hey, let's say, well, 52 has been my target anyway for this run before we get a pullback. So 52 could definitely happen. Now, what would it mean for altcoins? To be honest, altcoins at this moment are strong. Not gonna lie, altcoins are looking very strong right now. This is the others chart. Again, I'm not much of a fan of looking at the total tree, as the total tree includes USDT and USDC and the big coins like BNB, Solana, Cardano, that kind of stuff, right? If we really take a look at altcoins, the things that you degens are buying, including myself, by the way, sometimes, then we take a look at the others chart. This is everything excluding the top 10. And this has clearly broken out, making higher highs right now. Yeah, and the next big support level is sitting at 235 billion, which we are now not even touching 200 billion. So that's quite of a move up. Also, what's interesting, if we take a Fibonacci tool over this and we draw it like this, where do you see the 0.382 is coming in? Kind of exactly at that level. So in my honest opinion, the altcoin market collectively could have a run of another 20%. Okay, what's also interesting that means a lot more for one altcoin than another altcoin. We have seen a 20% move on the altcoin market also this month in December, right? But if we do take a look at some altcoins, how they performed in December, AVAX, for example, is up 80%. Beam is up 150%. Engine starter up 45%. Then we have engine up, well, the regular 20%. We have Gala up 27%. Chainlink this month just up 5%, right? And yeah, we can take a look at the Bitcoins, right? Like BNB, right? Up 10%. So these are like these compensate a little bit for that. But overall, I do think that if you are in the right altcoins, you can make a very good move. CDFI up 90%. So could it mean that we can see similar moves from certain altcoins? It could. Like, I mean, CDFI went up 90%, right? I'm not saying it will do another 90% from here. It would take it to around $8. In a month, I think that is quite optimistic, and some altcoins, the charts look like they really need to cool off. What's also interesting, again, this is an unbiased video, so I'm showing you the up and the downsides, and you make your conclusions out of it, please. I'm not gonna do that anymore, I think. But what is interesting, that all these charts that I've just shown are pretty bullish, right? What I do feel like is, okay, let's take a look at crypto assets on the weekly time frame and their RSIs. They are flashingly overbought, right? Flashingly overbought. Now, that doesn't have to mean anything, because here, Bitcoin, for example, was overbought as well, sitting at $16,000. But it went all the way to 65 and then came down really. So that doesn't have to mean anything. But something else is, we talked about the others chart, so the altcoin market right here. But there's also the others dominance. And what the others dominance is, it's basically the Bitcoin dominance, right? Bitcoin dominance is showing how much Bitcoin is dominating the crypto space compared to other assets like altcoins and stables. But the others dominance is showing how the top 125 minus the top 10 is dominating the crypto space compared to, well, any other asset out there, basically. And if we take a look at that, we see this. This is sitting at big resistance, right? And what do I mean by big resistance? If you scroll back, you can see that we got rejected there in 2017, 2018, small correction, rejection in 2020. We had a little support over there during the bull run in 2021. We got below it and we got rejected there again in February this year. And now we are sitting there again. However, the difference is, every time we got rejected from that point was in a couple of small wicks here, one wick here, one wick here, one wick here. Now we are pushing this for since beginning of November, so for more than a month already, and it is actually showing some strength as well, because every time we get down, we see these wicks as well. They get bought up quite fast. So it looks like the altcoin market is trying to break out. Now, I don't want to make this too long, but whatever. What could mess it up for altcoins? A Bitcoin ETF, right? A Bitcoin ETF could not mess it up for altcoins in the sense that they go down against the dollar, but that the altcoin dominance goes down, because Bitcoin will dominate more if we will get a Bitcoin ETF, because people are going to put their money in Bitcoin, of course, right? And then we will see the dominance go up, which is kind of bullish as well, because the higher the dominance goes, the harder the alt season is going to be when the dominance is finally going to go down again. If the dominance from here breaks down, it's nice, but it's by far not the biggest alt season we have ever seen. It's by far the smallest alt season we have ever seen. We had an alt season here, we had an alt season here, and we had an alt season here, right? This is like, yeah, we had these kind of things, but that's just wicking around. Like, that's not really a big alt season or anything. Um, Overall, it doesn't really matter though if you invest with dollars, because if the dominance goes up for Bitcoin because a lot of money has been put in Bitcoin, it means the Bitcoin price is going up, and although the dominance is going up, altcoins could still go up against their dollar pair, just not on their Bitcoin pair. And therefore, I spoke a lot about like, hey, I'm not buying too much altcoins. I'm rather buying Bitcoin to later convert it into altcoins. And that's been pretty, a solid move, because the Bitcoin dominance has been going up. And although the altcoin market has been going up very hard against the dollar pair, this is the altcoin market against, the Bitcoin pair. And that has been going down. So I now have a bag of Bitcoin, which I can buy altcoins for at around the bottom right now. But I'm not going to do it yet. I think we can go lower on that. And again, that doesn't mean altcoins go down on the dollar pair. That completely depends if Bitcoin is going down on its dollar pair. These are very interesting times. Last cycle, this time, when that happened, that was during a Bitcoin crash. Right? That was during the fact that Bitcoin was going down. If altcoins go down against Bitcoin, which is going down against the dollar, then altcoins could go down really hard. Then again, we have the room right now, right? Again, this is the altcoin market, and from the bottom, the altcoin market is now sitting at a 180%, so almost 3x. Right? So you could say like, well, yeah, altcoin is gonna fall 50%, sweat, fear, panic, but still, then we are here. What does that basically mean? It means that we are still up 40% from the bottom, and that you will have a very nice entry for the people that are dollar costing. Overall, what I'm thinking about the altcoin market right now is, are 50% pullbacks likely? Yeah, fuck yeah. That's I can say that with a lot of conviction, for sure. Do you have the stomach to go through that? Then by all means start DCAing, I would say. Like, not financial advice, but overall, the altcoin market will go way higher than where we are right now, right? And I think we are now far enough in the cycle where projects have shown like, hey, we survived, we didn't. You can take a look at some charts. If you take a look, for example, at AVAX, hey, I'm not saying buy right now after such a pump, but when we get a good correction, AVAX here gave us the preview like, hey, we're still here and we're doing well. We catch the momentum, we catch the hype, and we will do fucking enormous great like in a bull market, right? Same goes for Beam, has been doing fantastic. Playable Games has been doing fantastic, right? But there are still altcoins that did not do fantastic. And then I'm talking about the riskier shit like Hex, right? Hex has not been doing great. Hex been going down really hard. And even during this, last big pump that we have seen over the last couple of weeks, Hex has been going down 50%. Yeah, that shows like if the market is showing so much strength and an altcoin is looking like this, then it's maybe not an interesting altcoin. Then just let it go and move on to the next one, right? And some altcoins like Moon River, for example, did a 2x. Hey, it has been underperforming against the rest of the market. It has been showing some strength, but hey, still lower lows and lower highs. So also not something that I'm interested in, right? But again, there are altcoins. IMX. Yeah, beautiful, right? It feels a little wrong though, because some altcoins are sitting at the bottom and people might feel like, oh yeah, I'd rather buy something that's low than what's high. But there's a reason why these altcoins are still low, right? Now it depends per altcoin. Maybe they just have been building and there are some good inside news that you know about that specific altcoin. And then, hey, I don't know. But therefore I'm saying like, yeah, I'm not buying these pumps on these altcoins. Could they go up more? Yeah, fuck yeah. They can go easy 2x from here still, right? That's definitely possible. For me, it feels a little wrong to buy it this high on the dollar pair. And even against the Bitcoin pair, there are altcoins that have been outperforming really. But like, if, for example, again, if you look at IMX on its Bitcoin pair, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 times it went there and it got rejected every single time. So against Bitcoin, I feel like, okay, let's wait and see what IMX does, for example. And even Falcon Forge, which is really bullish at the moment, I do feel like, oh, okay, low, lower low, lower low, high, lower high, lower high. Against Bitcoin, it is not so strong. Therefore, it is good. Like, I get that there are a lot of degens on the channel that say like, yeah, go in altcoins. Fact is, though, that if you would have been in Bitcoin, you made that 3x as well, just like altcoins, right? And now you can, buy altcoins which are not that far from the bottom. While if you look at the same coin on its dollar pair, it's way further from the bottom. That's kind of the strategy that you can apply to something like that. Now, I've been trading a lot lately. To wrap it up with, I've been buying, if you are in the Patreon, I'm sharing my portfolio there a lot. And I've been showing you my moonshot portfolio. And I've been buying a lot of coins at the lows. I made 3, 4, 5x's on them. Took my profits, put them into something else, make money on that, right? That's always a way to trade the market. This list right here, I have to update it though. It's not fully complete. So if you feel like, oh, let me snatch your portfolio, this is not really that relevant at the moment. So stay tuned. But this list right here, part of it is part of my longer term play. Beam as well, for example. I've just took profits on Beam, right? Why? It's been green only, right? Well, I made a 3x on it. I put 3K in. This morning, I saw that I have $9,000 and I felt like, yeah, okay, at least take my initial out. So I'm in a safe play. I'm in a free play right here, right? If it goes up, nice, I'm making money. If it goes down, nice, I can DCA. I think this market is very volatile right now. And now we are in the phase where we do this. There will also be phases where we do this. Even in a full raging bull market like I just showed you, there are 30% corrections, right? So be a little prepared for that. It could really be stressful. The bull market is way more stressful than a bear market. Believe me, that's I think that people... some people on this channel probably went through a bull market, and I think they can agree on that, because you feel like, shit, should I take profits? Should I not? Right? What if it tops out right here? But what if I sell everything and it goes up further? And what? So many what ifs, man. And I think the safest play is just once you feel like, hey, I have a good gain. And now it feels good for me to at least take my initial out. Hey, I think it's smart to at least make sure that you don't lose. You come in crypto to make money, not to lose money. So at least secure that, and then start talking about making profits, right? Step by step by step. Whoa, this is one of my biggest holdings, by the way, and this has been mooning as well. I just see this, so this is fucking beautiful. Spartadex just hit $1. Man. This is the type of market where you see one altcoin blow up and then another blow up and then another one. And that's so beautiful, because if they do it all at once, yeah, you can only position your money then, right? But for a very good example, if I won't in this case, but if I say, hey, Spartadex did a 12x, take my money out, put it into Magic, for example, then let that run, right? The whole crypto market collectively could do a 10x, but you can make way more out of it. Let's make the focus on that on the channel in the coming years, basically. How to stay safe, how to take your profits. Let's talk about specific projects more as well, as I feel it's now safe to do so. I haven't been doing that much. Because in a bear market, yeah, you don't know, man. Some projects could die, and I did not want to wreck this community. And I think it's now pretty safe to say, like, okay, I don't want it feels like a little, like, whatever. We are out of the woods for the biggest part, in my opinion. And the most altcoins that are here and are performing well, we can likely say that these are the altcoins that have survived this bear market. So there will be a lot of alpha on this channel, portfolio sharing strategies. So guys, if you like the content, let's switch. Again, I'm not saying like, hey, I'm changing the fact that I still expect a good correction. But then again, If you feel bad about a correction, then you should ask yourself, hey, am I maybe a little over allocated? I will always keep dollars in my portfolio. But that's also part of my strategy because I like to step into new projects. Because new projects are the ones that are going to give you 100x's, not the AVAX's currently at $38. However you want to turn it, that's not going to happen, right? So yeah, I want to wrap it up right here. It's been long enough. Sorry for this. I'll make sure to put some timestamps on the video. If you do appreciate and like content, let me know. Put your opinion in the comment section. The more comments, the more I get pushed into YouTube's algorithm, and the more I will be happy to keep creating content for you so we can all make it together in the next bull market. See you soon.